I had gotten this gas mask after 9/11. Everybody got one for the holidays, including a go bag and a radio, because I was terrified, waiting for the next shoe to drop. And then I finally said, you know what, you got to get a job. So I just started taking this, and I started shooting things randomly in this. And I started telling a little bit of a story, but I didn't realize it. And there's a lady in this audience by the name of Ruth Charney who saw 3 or 4 of these photographs and said to me, hey, you're telling your own story.
When people think about childhood trauma, they think that it has to do with abuse and something violent. But I think that the more pervasive and the more devastating form of trauma is actually the moment-to-moment neglect that so many of us end up experiencing that leaves us already feeling so alone, even before age 8.
The real tragic part of what happens the day that I'm taken away is that I remember driving up in a car with the priest that had married my parents. They'd been the priest when they were kids. And he said, run up and get your mother. I run upstairs, yelling, Mom, 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 where are you? I open the kitchen door, and I smell gas. And my mother is on the floor on a blanket with a pillow on her head, almost dead. And I run downstairs and tell them, and the next thing I know, I'm sitting in a room, and I'm opposite 2 African-American twins, Hilda and Matilda. And they were being incarcerated that night, too. And it was very late at night, and that's all that I remember. And then I remember getting in the bed and crying, like, where am I? And these girls getting up out of their beds, and like, what's your name? Where are you from? Are your parents dead? Are your parents alive? And I was just shell-shocked. And then the next day, they beat the shit out of me. They all chased me, and they beat the shit out of me, and they threw me off an embankment, and I broke my back. It was an induction. It was like, you know, the Citadel, West Point. You know, it was their version. I never understood violence of that sort. That was never in my DNA. I was empathetic. I was compassionate. I never, ever thought of hurting somebody like that, so I didn't know what they were doing. But this was some kind of welcome to the orphanage thing that they did. But then now I realize now that they were abandoned, angry children. And I have no hatred for them or anger.
And so you must have felt like you committed some kind of horrible crime to have been put into this situation. This is the beginning of where most people with trauma end up having incredibly low self-worth, a sense that they'll never be loved, that they're undeserving of love, and it's always their fault. Whatever it is, it's always their fault.
Definitely the sense of self-worth was nothing because I was told by everybody that I was worth nothing. My teachers, everybody. I was incorrigible, I was nothing. Like I said before, I'd end up pregnant, I just wouldn't listen, blah, 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 blah. But I always knew, deep down inside, that I was right and they were wrong. I had a sense of low self-esteem, but something kept telling me, I don't know if it was in my DNA, nature, nurture. I used to always have this argument with my 5th grade teacher, who became like another mother to me, who was that one adult that helped me make it through.
I would note that as a real strength of yours. This fight energy that you have, it's always reassuring whenever I see that in a new patient. Because what's implied is that I don't deserve this. And you need to feel that. And the anger protects you from being more hurt and injured by others.
I escaped when I'm 16. I ended up back with my parents. Nothing had changed. It was still insane. So I move out when I'm 16. And I move into an apartment in Rego Park, a studio apartment. I'm in high school. And I go to high school living in an apartment by myself. And this is what it felt like. Sneaking out after dark, I'm still wearing that mask of anger, that mask of fear. Nobody can get to me. I keep all those walls, and I wear that mask so that I will not be vulnerable. I will not let you see the real me. I will show you the me that I want you to see. But then there was my room. I loved my room. And in my room, I could dance. I could sing along with records, my music. I loved that. I found quiet and peace in my room, and that's when I developed a habit of staying up all night because all the demons and monsters would go to bed. There would be screaming and fighting. Everything got quiet. And that's when I'd be my most alive.
I'm thinking about angels' wings and innocence. This is when you can be innocent again. Always realize that horrible, terrible things are happening, but in the midst of that, to create pockets of beauty, like a phrase that I had read from Nietzsche. And this would have been a photo that I would have stared at as a college student, because I would have wanted to hold on to the innocence that's hinted at, while still realizing the context of horror that so many of us grow up with.
Yes. What I realized throughout this entire journey, that it was time, drop the anger, except when necessary. Really necessary.
Yeah.
Okay. We have witnesses in the front row. And to let the walls go down, that it was okay to be vulnerable. It was okay to let people in. Okay? And I wasn't afraid of being hurt by them if I let them in. I had actually one person in LA say to me, I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't sell that book and put it out because people wouldn't hire you because it's like, you're telling all this stuff about your background. And I said to myself, wow, I wonder what she's hiding.
That's beautiful.
You gotta look at the final product. What's the work?
As I was hearing you, I was thinking that art is the most beautiful expression of come find me, come find me. And I was thinking of the word sublimate, because that's what Freud called art. It's a sublimation of our things that we're afraid to face. But then I was thinking, as you're wrapping up, sublime. We turn our pain into something sublime. And through that, we share our hearts, and it touches other hearts, and then we become whole again.